Thank you for your participation to the event on India's G20 Presidency, Business 20 India today. 本日は G20 議長国インドでのビジネス20にご参加いただきまして誠にありがとうございます。First, may I invite His Excellency Mr. Shivi George, Ambassador of India to Japan, to make opening remarks. はじめに駐日インド大使シビ・ジョージ閣下より開会のご挨拶をいただきます。
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm delighted to welcome you all to this event dedicated to Business 20 or B20 under the India's G20 Presidency. We are holding this as an online and offline, a hybrid event. As we move into the third month of India's G20 presidency, we have already seen a vast array of working groups and engagement groups come together to outline the key priorities of this year's G20. Our efforts to support inclusive and resilient growth, promote progress on SDGs, foster technological transformation through quality digital public infrastructure, and combat climate change are at the heart of India's presidency. The B20 is an essential engagement group within the G20 that provides business leaders with a platform to voice their opinions, recommendations, and priorities for the G20 agenda. As we are focusing on B20, let me recall that Indian presidency has identified 5 issues which would help in fostering a resilient, inclusive, and substantive global trade. These are trade for growth and prosperity, trade and resilient global value chains, integrating MSMEs in global trade, logistics for trade, and WTO reform. The B20 India is committed to creating a robust framework for the business community to contribute to shaping the global agenda. It is one of the most prominent engagement groups under G20 and under India's presidency will help promote international cooperation on critical issues such as skilling and mobility, digital transformation, global economic recovery, energy and climate change, and innovation and research and development. As we continue to navigate the multiple challenges of ranging from climate change to fuel, food, and fertilizer security, we must recognize that businesses and indeed the private sector have crucial role to play in shaping the solutions to address these problems. The B20 under India's presidency will provide the private sector with an opportunity to engage with policymakers and other stakeholders to influence policies that drive innovation and economic growth. We will hear in greater detail about B20 India's theme and priority from the Confederation of Indian Industry, which is the Secretariat for B20 India. We believe that the B20 under India's G20 presidency is well positioned to provide valuable contributions to the G20's agenda and will provide important recommendations that will go into the agenda of G20. Thank you for your attention. I hope you will find today's event productive. Thank you and good afternoon.
Thank you very much, sir. Next, we will show you a video on recap of B20 Inception Meeting held in Gandhinagar recently. 続きまして、先日ガンディナガルで開催された B20 Inception Meeting の要約映像を上映いたします。スクリーンをご覧ください。
India would like to give out the message. India would like to share with the world the big opportunity for economic growth, for powering the world economy also to grow, for collaborations, for cooperation.
Prime Minister took a very pragmatic approach. His point was that India today is the third largest innovation ecosystem, where we have more than 100 unicorns more than 84,000 registered startups. Can we create a system in which individual rights, society's needs, and innovation requirements, all the three can be managed?
The level of excitement, the energy, the support and enthusiasm among the business leaders in India and the G20 nations during the last couple of months when we started this movement is contagious and it is truly exceptional.
To our mind, it's very, very critical that the learning lessons from all the discussions that the Business 20 does in the coming days, from its various groups that it has constituted, the action task force that it has constituted, the lessons that you draw out will be very critical for both the Sherpa track as well as the leaders' communication. And therefore, it's in your hands to shape the destiny of the world.
Digital Economy Working Group Meeting and Energy Transition Working Group Meeting. Please see the screen. 次に、先日インドで開催された2つのワーキンググループに関連した映像を上映いたします。G20 デジタル経済ワーキンググループ会合とエネルギー転換ワーキンググループ会合です。それではスクリーンをご覧ください。
We are really glad to be here, to have this opportunity to visit and to get to know a little bit, at least a little bit more of India, which is an amazing country.
Well, I know that they are making important changes in India, the economy of India, and probably the future. They will have a very big impact in the future of India.
I really enjoy my time here, really friendly people and a beautiful city.
Everyone says hello with a smile and it's very helpful.
G20 India. Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam.
Greener tomorrow. It's not a dream, but a belief. A belief that leads to change. And change, that's the need of the hour. India has pledged to achieve net zero emissions by 2070. Reduce emissions intensity of GDP by 45% by 2030 as compared to 2005 levels. Achieve 50% cumulative electric power installed capacity from non-fossil fuel energy resources by 2030. India's energy saving schemes have led to emissions reductions of 267.9 million tons per year, resulting in estimated cost saving of $18.5 billion. India has been ranked among the top 5 performing countries in the 2022 Climate Change Performance Index. We have strengthened our distribution network, established one nation, one grid, one frequency, resulting in one market. Green Energy Corridor Transmission Plan developed for 500 gigawatt non-fossil fuel capacity by 2030. India successfully achieved 100% household electrification in a record time of 18 months with the Saubhagya scheme, the scheme for universal access. We have emerged as a country with the fastest growing renewable energy capacity in the world. Solar energy. India ranks 5th globally in the solar power capacity. Large solar parks have led to rapid solar capacity addition. India has a huge potential of floating solar projects. The country has achieved 5.6 times growth in rooftop solar installed capacity in 5 years. India ranks 4th globally in wind installed capacity. Offshore wind targets to achieve 30 gigawatt wind capacity by 2030. We have 46.85 gigawatt installed capacity in large hydropower. India's objective to reduce CO2 emission levels is reflected in energy saving schemes launched by the government. PAT scheme is designed to achieve energy efficiency in energy-intensive sectors. A Make in India success story, Ujala scheme, launched in 2015, is the largest LED distribution program in the world, aiming to provide LED bulbs at affordable prices. Standard and labeling scheme to provide consumer an informed choice of energy saving and cost saving potential of appliances has led to reduction of CO2 emissions. PM Kusum is the largest agricultural pump solarization initiative in the world. India is also witnessing rapid increase in the adoption of e-vehicles. The country has implemented ethanol blended petrol program across all regions. We aim to be a global hub for green hydrogen production under Green Hydrogen Mission. Under the mission, India aims for a green hydrogen production capacity of 5 million metric ton per annum. LIFE initiative aims to involve individuals and masses in driving change, sensitizing them about energy efficiency and responsible consumption. We are committed to promoting universal togetherness and helping build a sustainable future. One Earth, one family, one future.
Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam.
マリア副会長 N. チャンドラセーカラン様のメッセージを上映いたします。スクリーンをご覧ください。
India is in a very unique position in the world at a time we are seeing several moving parts. And B20 during India's leadership of G20 has a unique opportunity and has a very important role to play. CII has been associated with the B20 forum for the last 12 years since 2010 in some form. So we have had the opportunity to look at the evolution and the progress over the years and have been able to relate it to the context in which the world is functioning today, and able to work out an agenda which we think is very exciting and can be value adding for all G20 nations and in fact for the rest of the world, not only to India. The 7 task forces we have focused on are all need of the world at this time and for the coming decades. The first theme is on global supply chains. How do we bring resiliency? The second one is on future of work. All of us know how the future of work is getting redefined. It is going to require new type of skills. So we have wrapped around the future of work and the skills that is required for the 21st century, the coming decade. The creative skills, collaborative skills, and the mode of working. We want to define that for the future. The third area is about circular economy and sustainability, energy transition, mobility, biodiversity, water management, all the UN sustainability goals. And the fourth area is a digital transformation with India with a tremendous track record of not only the information technology industry, but also the deployment of digital in development programs and public services delivery has a unique role to play. And we want to showcase what can be done more in India as well as what can we contribute to the world at large. And we also want to have specific recommendations about how to bring equality and reduce inequality using the digital transformation. The fifth theme we have taken is about reviving the global economy. What can we do together to kickstart the financial growth engine globally? And the sixth area is about innovation and research and development. What kind of a research infrastructure that not only India can put in place, how we can collaborate between the G20 nations in innovation and research that can make a huge impact for the rest of the world, not only for the G20 nations. And finally, financial inclusion as the 7th task force, where we want to see how we can significantly enhance the role of small and medium enterprises among the G20 nations, whether it is from a credit perspective, skill perspective, or access perspective to skills and digital and what have you. The 2 action groups that we have formed is one is on ESG. How we can share among the G20 nations the best practices of governance and other aspects of ESG so that we can create a common platform to drive the change, not look at each nation separately. And we also believe Africa has a huge potential for the future. So we have formed a specific task force where we want to see what we can contribute to Africa so that we can kickstart the growth in that region, and also how they can participate across all these dimensions. Again, we have a team which has deep expertise in Africa, who is part of that action group. Before I share a few thoughts on what we are intending to do in B20 this year, I would like to say that the level of excitement, the energy, the support and enthusiasm among the business leaders in India and the G20 nations during the last couple of months when we started this movement is contagious, and it is truly exceptional. We believe in this period we can come up with a number of initiatives which can be very, very impactful. We coined the term R.A.I.S.E as an overarching theme because we want to accelerate. We want to be responsible. We want to bring innovation. We want to push sustainability. I must express my deep gratitude to all the business leaders in this country and in the G20 nations who have come to take part and drive this initiative with great sense of urgency, rigor, with focused outcomes.
Next, I would like to request Ms. Neeraja Bhatia, Deputy Director General, Confederation of India Industry, B20 India Secretariat, to give a presentation on B20 India. She will be giving presentation virtually from India. Please see the screen. 続きまして、インド工業連盟事務局長補 B20 インド事務局ニーラジャ・バティア様より、インドにおけるビジネス20について講演いただきます。
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for the opportunity given to the CII B20 India Secretariat to share with you some thoughts on the priorities that B20 India has identified for industry at large in India's G20 presidency. We'd like to thank the ambassador. And there is a lot that we are looking forward to in terms of our engagement with Japan, not just through the G20 multilateral process, but also through other engagements on the multilateral and bilateral areas. With your permission, sir, we'd like to just take you through a few slides that highlight India's B20 priorities, please. India took over, as we all know, India took over the G20 presidency on 1st December 2022 from Indonesia to host the 18th G20 summit, which is currently on. G20, as we all know, is the most powerful multilateral forum politically, and the B20 is the most important engagement group amongst all. The incumbent presidency takes all the policy recommendations of B20, which is Business 20, very seriously. The Business 20 or B20 in short is the official G20 dialogue forum for the global business community. The root of the B20 goes back to 2010, when it was first constituted under the South Korean G20 presidency. And over the years, the B20 has gained more and more strength and visibility. Today, it is one of the most prominent engagement groups in the G20 process, with companies and business organizations as participants from all the G20 countries and the invitee countries. The B20 or Business 20 leads the process of galvanizing global business leaders for their views on issues of global economic and trade governance, and speaks in a single voice for the entire G20 business community. Next slide, please. CII, or the Confederation of Indian Industry, has a long association with the B20 process. We've been working together since the very beginning and are the only industry institution representing Indian industry in these global deliberations. Our engagement this year in India's G20 presidency year is through the Global Business Coalition, which is the apex industry association from the G20 countries, and also being the secretariat to the B20 process. Next slide, please. 2023, the logo of the B20 India, which is showcased on the slide right now, is basically showcasing the partnership of G20 governments and industry, which are working together on just and equitable growth in the world as it collectively navigates through very turbulent times. The zero in the B20 is depicted through a graphic of the sun, which is an auspicious motif in many cultures that represents the energy and wisdom, both of which are integral to a good business and governance and growth. The sun image bears 20 rays, which signifies the 20 countries of the G20. The Business 20 logo has the Business India theme, which is R.A.I.S.E, R-A.I.S.E, R for responsible, A for accelerated, I for innovative, S for sustainable, and E for equitable businesses. This is our theme for the year, as was mentioned by the B20 chair in his message. The website B20 India 2023.org is live and active. This is a snapshot of the homepage where you will find a lot of information on the B20 process. Next slide, please. Each year, the G20 presidency appoints a B20 chair, the Business 20 chair, who's an eminent business leader from the G20 host country. And he or she is supported by the Business 20 secretariat. The structure of B20 is on your slide. The process, the B20 India process, is being led by Mr. N. Chandrasekharan, who is also the Executive Chairman, Tata Sons. We are in the process of forming the International Advocacy Caucus, which basically constitutes global CEOs and thought leaders from international organizations to help us as the B20 Secretariat to deliver actionable agenda and recommendations to the G20 process. The members of the IAC, in short, play a key role in activating their respective networks to enhance the visibility and legitimacy of the B20 advocacy across countries by sharing views and perspectives of the B20 global environment and priorities to their respective governments. The B20 also has constituted an B20 India steering committee, which is again led by the chair of B20 India himself. And this steering committee consists of leading Indian industry thought leaders who are in the process of helping us prepare a roadmap and help implement a plan to steer the work of the B20. The B20 India Secretariat is certain that outreach to Indian industry is extremely important, as the understanding of the whole concept and importance of the B20 forum must well be understood by Indian industry members as well as the global industry for an effective contribution in the B20 process. And therefore, here we request our embassy in Japan to also help disseminate this information to a larger Japanese industry stakeholders for their active participation. The next slide, please. We had done a very rigorous process in the last 1.5 years of identifying industry priorities which were not only resonating in India but across the globe, particularly in the backdrop of COVID. These deliberations were held in consultation with the B20 chair and the steering committee and the members of the R.A.I.S.E as well. The industry identified priorities are basically around integrating into global value chains, innovation R&D, technology and employability, diversifying services trade, digital transformation, sustainability in business, and also the global businesses, including businesses from India, wanting to look at Africa as a common market and a common economic entity. Now, these priorities have resonated very well with our counterparts from the various countries, and therefore, next slide, please. We will show you the identified priorities that we are working through in the form of task forces and action councils. There are 7 task forces that we've identified which cut across all industry sectors. The first one is inclusive global value chains for resilient global trade and investment. The second task force is future of work, skilling and mobility. The third task force is on circularity of the economy, which includes energy, climate change and resource efficiency. The fourth is around digital transformation. The fifth is on financing for global economic recovery. The sixth task force is on technology, innovation and R&D. The seventh on financial inclusion for economic development, where India is a shining example, again coming in the backdrop of COVID, where digital payments, our entire vaccination process, everything was digitized. And we have really very good case studies here for the rest of the world. There are 2 action councils, which are essentially call to action for global businesses that B20 India would like to promote. One is ESG in business, which is, again, a very important agenda for all boardroom discussions across the globe. And the second, like I mentioned earlier, is on African economic integration, which is basically looking at helping with capacity building, with helping with infrastructure development, issues of African industrialization, and also facilitating investment to build regional production networks for the African continent. Each of these task forces and action council is made up by one Indian chair, and there are multiple co-chairs from overseas global conglomerates as well. These task forces is in line with more or less what the G20 India's priorities are. And this is the discussion that global businesses will have, and recommendations of these at the end of our presidency will be submitted to the G20 India Secretariat and further to the global the global international leaders when they meet in September. Next slide, please. Major progress has been achieved in developing the policy recommendations papers for all our task forces and action councils for B20 India. The B20 Secretariat has had consultations with industry and knowledge partners of each of our task forces and action councils, and the initial issue papers have already been submitted to the G20 Secretariat. What you see on your screen is essentially the very tight timelines that the industry from India and the G20 countries is working on presenting 0 drafts and issue papers to the G20 process. Next slide, please. This is a calendar of all the major policy initiatives that have been planned as B20 India's presidency through the coming months. The World Economic Forum in Davos in January was our first international outreach, where we organized some very prominent sessions over 2 breakfast meetings, focusing on the B20 India theme and priorities, where we had participation again from key countries participating in the Davos World Economic Forum annual meeting. Our next pit stop internationally will be in April in Washington, D.C. on the margins of the Fund Bank meeting, where we are again going to be organizing a very important international outreach with our US partners, inviting the other G20 countries as well. All our efforts through all our policy advocacy in India and globally will all then culminate into the B20 India Summit, which will take place from the 25th to the 27th of August in New Delhi. Next slide, please. Our B20 Inception meeting took place in Gandhinagar, Gujarat from the 22nd to the 24th of January. We had over 189 global businesses from 31 countries participate in this Inception meeting. This also had the participation of the Government of India at a very senior level. We had discussions around the B20 India priorities and themes, and with 8 focus sessions, which were basically again focusing on the task forces and the priorities that we have identified as part of the B20 India process. The issues selected during India's presidency have a strong, while it has a very strong Indian interest, also resonates across the larger international business community. Next slide, please. We are also working on a very granular calendar of policy advocacy initiatives across the country. And like I mentioned, there are some international outreach also that will happen. This is just a snapshot of the kind of initiatives that we are doing. There are a total of over 100 policy initiatives that we plan to do. We have spread ourselves across the country. The idea is also to get all our Indian industry members, even our medium and small and medium scale companies, to participate in the overall recommendation process, thus being a very bottoms-up approach. Next slide, please. Our key marquee milestones in this process are going to be around the 13th and 15th of March, which is a partnership summit that we are doing under the B20 India calendar. Our next pit stop is going to be in India in May, where we are again going to be discussing the priorities with global and Indian businesses. And the B20 summit, which is just being held just a few days ahead of the global, the Leaders Summit, will be from the 25th to the 27th of August in New Delhi. Next slide, please. This brings me to a slide that I'm very happy to present to you. India and Japan, while we were talking about the multilateral process and how B20 India is going to be representing global businesses, we also have a very strong engagement at the business-to-business level with between India and Japan, and CII also plays a very important role here. We enjoy a very special strategic and global partnership over the years. And for us in industry, Japan has always been a very trusted partner. Japanese businesses have not only helped build a huge brand image in India, but have also worked with Indian businesses to drive their competitiveness in a mutually supporting partnership. Japan currently ranks 5th among source countries for FDI, but there still exists tremendous scope for enhancing economic partnership in upcoming sectors. As CII, we do believe that the Japanese embassy in India just a few days ago had organized a very grand exhibition of various Japanese companies who have seen success in India, and the sheer scale of it was quite awe-inspiring. Pushing this forward, the visit of the Honorable Prime Minister of Japan in March last year saw an announcement of a private-public partnership investment and loan target of 5 trillion yen from Japan to India over the next few years. 6 agreements were also signed covering the domains of cybersecurity, infrastructure development, decentralized domestic wastewater management, and sustainable urban development. We are proud to say that CII has been playing a very significant role in aiding this engagement as well. CII is the secretariat of the IJBLF, and has also organized a series of events last year to mark 70 years of diplomatic relationship between India and Japan. We have also come out with a compendium of successful stories of India-Japan business cooperation, and also have taken a very high-level CEO's delegation to Japan to explore business cooperation opportunities in various sectors. Lastly, I'd like to say that India and Japan, as presidents of G20 and G7, provide a unique opportunity for all of us in businesses to shape dialogues that will greatly affect the future of the world. We currently have 12 Japanese industry members in the B20 India task forces and action councils, and the chairman of Kedanran Business Association is an important member of our international advocacy caucus. Next slide, please. To conclude, I would only like to reiterate that to make India's presidency as a historic one, the B20 India Secretariat is committed to relentlessly work in collaboration with national and international partners, and particularly from Japan. I kindly request and look forward to your friendship and support in the coming months to shape the B20 agenda. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Ma'am. Now we will conclude the event on India's G20 Presidency, Business 20 India. Thank you very much for your participation today. 以上をもちまして、本日のイベント G20 議長国インドでのビジネス20を終了。本日はご参加いただきまして誠にありがとうございました。We will have a networking session with here just outside of this venue. We hope you will join us. この後、軽食とネットワーキングセッションがございます。この会場を出てすぐのホイヤーで行いますので、ぜひ皆様ご参加くださいませ。どうもありがとうございました。